The Legend of Zelda is an incredibly popular franchise, and in recent years has turned to wider and more open horizons in its gameplay. The bombastic success of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom have convinced series director Eiji Aonuma that open-air games are Zelda's future. However, I know of many fans who would like a sort of return to form for the series, in either 3D or 2D. And since 3D games seem to be staying in their wide-open lane, let's come up with a concept for what a new 2D Legend of Zelda game could be. Similar to my Mario video, I'll be going over 3 main categories: the gameplay, the story, and the world. With that, let's begin. There's going to be 2 subcategories for this section: combat and items. First off, the game will be very classic Zelda, with things like a magic meter, top-down view, dungeon items, classic dungeons, etc. In Four Swords Adventures, Link could use a horse, so I think it's time we brought that back to 2D Zelda as a faster movement option. I also plan on the world having several islands off the coast in some sections, which means Link could have his own boat again. In terms of combat, Link would have his usual 2D moves like a sword swipe, shield guard, and spin attack. Here's my first potentially controversial opinion. I think the shield and the bow should be permanently bound to ZL and ZR respectively. I'd like to offer up a concept from Metroid Dread. In that game, you could hold down the L button to freely aim Samus using the right stick. I think something similar for the bow would be a welcome evolution to the item. My reason for binding the shield to ZL is because it's something that's necessary in most combat situations. I also think the shield should be able to parry attacks by pressing A, like in Breath of the Wild. Most 2D Zelda combat is just kinda swinging your sword and hoping you're faster than the enemy. In general, I'd like the combat to be more in-depth. I can imagine an enemy that quickly charges towards Link, and the player would be able to parry the attack instead of just tank it with the shield or get hit. Now let's move to dungeon items. I'll go over a couple classic items that I think could have some new uses in both combat and puzzles. The first is Rock's Feather, which appeared in Link's Awakening and allowed Link to hop over small pits. I think in this game it could also be used to hop up small ledges, allowing for expanded traversal once obtained. It could also let Link hop over enemies or their attacks. Another returning item could be the Fire Rod, which would be a sort of combination of the Lantern item from previous games and the Fire Rod from A Link Between Worlds. Pressing the item button once creates a small flame, but holding down R and pressing it again would do a more powerful stream of fire at the cost of more magic. Something similar could be done with a boomerang, which would have more attack power and quickly ricochet towards a second target. Another version of this could apply to the hookshot, where holding down R could increase its range. The possibilities of this mechanic could apply to any item in the game, but I won't bore you by going over tons of potential item changes. Instead, I'd rather see all your ideas in the comments. Now, let's move on to part 2, the story. Let's start by saying where I'd like this game to take place. I think it should be between Twilight Princess and Four Swords Adventures. This is mainly because I think it would be interesting to continue in that world of Hyrule, albeit sometime after Twilight Princess. Plus, it's the only other timeline branch without a single-player top-down game, so might as well rectify that. The basic plot will be that the Kingdom of Hyrule and its peoples need help from smaller threats, at least at first. Unbeknownst to them, something dark has been brewing in the Gerudo Desert. A certain sect of Gerudo plots to resurrect Ganon. However, for the first half of the game, their grand plan remains undiscovered. The game starts when Link has just been chosen as the personal knight of Princess Zelda. She gives him his first task, to travel Hyrule and protect its peoples, exercising his authority as representative of the royal family. The game will then center around Link being sent to different areas and helping the people there. The world will be populated by 8 different Hyruleans in this game. Hylians, Zora, Swamp Zora, Gorons, Gerudo, Yetis, monkeys, and Kokiri. There should probably be another new species, but I can't really think of what a new one could look like or where it could live. Instead, let's discuss each species and what they're up to in this game. The Hylians, in an attempt to help the different races, have accidentally spread themselves too thin at the start of the game, leaving Hyrule Castletown under threat from monsters, although this is quickly settled by Link after his coronation as a knight. The Zora are faced with their own war, as hostile Zoras from another domain have migrated into the southern swamp of Hyrule. They're threatening war on the Hylians if the Hyrulean Zora don't surrender, and have already started infesting Hyrule's rivers. The Gorons in this game are in the middle of a home invasion. They've been forced out of Death Mountain by Dodongos and Lizalfos, and are currently taking refuge with the Yetis at Snow Peak. They need to return home soon, as only volcanic rock can sustain them for long periods. The Gerudo of this game are nomadic, and viewed as more of a threat than they have been in recent titles. The tribe is split over if they should officially join the Kingdom of Hyrule. When the game starts, the King of Hyrule has not returned from his peace talks, which is why Link is sent there first thing after restoring Castletown. In the meantime, the Yetis are faced with a much smaller problem. They don't have enough stew to feed the Gorons. Their storehouse in the Snow Peak mansion has been taken over by lightning-based enemies, who are particularly dangerous to the Yetis, so it's up to Link to defeat them all. The monkeys, who live next to Kakariko Village in the Faron Jungle, have gone bananas, and are terrorizing the villagers. Kokiri Forest is unknown to the world around it at this point, but when Link realizes he has to go there to find the Master Sword, he finds it infested with Stalfos and Skulltulas, and has to eliminate the spider's den before claiming the sacred sword. This next aspect of the game is taken directly from Cadence of Hyrule, because I think it's a cool concept I could add to. Around the mainland, there are 3 triangle-shaped islands. These are home to 3 fates, fates of power, wisdom, and courage. They knit triangle-shaped maps that lead Link to the location of each respective piece of the Triforce. He finds the pieces of wisdom and courage first, and upon finding the piece of power, he is ambushed by Twin Rova, who has been controlling the Gerudo sect opposed to joining Hyrule. After Link defeats them, they use themselves and the Triforce of Power to revive Ganon. However, similarly to the Oracle games, he is somewhat mindless, and he accidentally splits the Triforce in 3 again, with each piece going to Link, Zelda, and Ganon. Link and Zelda then work together to defeat Ganon, and then use the Triforce to make their own wish, remove all the monsters from Hyrule, finally bringing peace to the kingdom. That's the story I've come up with. Obviously, it's not very in-depth, there's things that could be done better, but I'm not a writer, and this is another chance for you guys to give me your ideas and opinions in the comments. Finally, let's discuss the world of Hyrule itself, in Part 3. The world of 2D Zelda games have tended to follow a formula for a while. That being that there's 2 versions of the same world in each game. Link to the Past had the Dark World, Link Between Worlds had Lorule, Oracle of Ages had the Past, Oracle of Seasons had 4 different times of year. But this time, I'd rather have a larger, single overworld. Welcome to your newest iteration of the Kingdom of Hyrule. This Hyrule is modeled after that of the Minish Cap and Twilight Princess. It features locations from both games, along with reworked locations from other games. First, we'll start with where Link lives, a small village to the south of Castletown. I was going to call this Ordon Village, but instead it's currently unnamed. Let me know what you think its name should be. Going north, the Bridge of Hylia leads directly to Hyrule Castle and Castletown, the hub of the Kingdom of Hyrule. In the southwest, the Gerudo Desert houses an abandoned coliseum, multitudes of tents of the nomadic Gerudo, and the Gerudo Fortress in the south of the desert. In the northwest, the Snow Peak region holds the renovated Snow Peak Mansion from Twilight Princess, as well as the Yetis and their igloos. In the northeast, Death Mountain and Goron City are under control of Dodongos and Lizalfos. Shifting back to the north, Zora's domain is under occupation from the Swamp Zora when Link first arrives, and he drives them back to their own domain in the southern swamp, which is just below Link's village. In the east, Kakariko Village borders the Faron Jungle, which houses the animal village in the center of it. Animal Village is inspired by Link's Awakening and will have a population of mainly monkeys, but other animals will be there as well. Finally, in the southeast, the Lost Woods surround Kokiri Forest, with the Great Deku Tree at the center. With that, my concept for the next 2D Legend of Zelda game is complete. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if so, let me know down in the comments what you all think of it, and tell me what you'd add in your own 2D Zelda game. Thanks again for 700 subscribers, and I'll see you next time.